promises. I won't go back on them, no. Girl, we gotta work it out right now. I swear I'll make you love again. I'll make you love again, yeah. If it's the last thing that I say, I make sure I say it the right way. If it's the last thing that I do, I make sure that I get through to you. If it's the last thing that I do, I make sure that I get through. Make sure that I get through to you.
I wanna know who you really are, what you dream about at night. I wanna know who you really are, baby, come into the light. I wanna know you. I wanna know you. I wanna know you. I wanna know who you really are, what you dream about at night. I wanna know who you really are, baby, come into the light. I wanna know you. I wanna know you.
I know you've been feeling me, baby. Won't you give it up? And we both know that this could be something, but that ain't enough.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Last Hit Gods Ultimate League. We have got a great matchup from the bottom of the standings here between the Glizzy Gladiators Collective and Viticulture Esports UL. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by Zymphonic this evening. Zymphonic, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for some UL action. I'm ready to see what these teams can bring after a not so successful past 2 weeks, but one of these teams will no longer be winless after tonight.
Yeah, certainly the case here. Viticulture looking to win their first game period tonight, whereas Glizzy Gladiators Collective have made a couple of series close. They've taken some individual games, but are still sitting here at 0-2. So we are going to be getting right into these bans. You can see it's going to be the Lilia Nazir taken away by the Glizzy Gladiators, and it is going to be Olaf and Nar taken away on the side of Viticulture.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some more choice picks, a couple of more meta, I guess, first bans, and a couple of, I'm assuming, comfort picks for either side. As you see, Udyr run out the side of picks bans along with the Vayne for Glizzy Gladiators. A lot of things still open, though. We got Hecarim still available, which has been a choice for some of the teams in this league, along with the Skarner. So some really strong couple of jungle picks available, and yeah, it looks like we're going to see Hecarim being taken by Glizzy Gladiators.
Yeah, really going to expect to be seeing then that we're going to be playing the Hecarim Skarner game. That's what a lot of people really do be going for in this meta so far. It's just been a lot of Skarner counter picks into Hecarim, and especially with the Lilia, the Olaf, and the Udyr off the board. That is where you expect a lot of these junglers to go. Like the Seraphine pick coming through for Viticulture, though, that is a really powerful enchanter in this current meta, and they're going to follow it up with the Kai'Sa, either to pair with it in the bottom lane, or it could even be Seraphine mid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kai'Sa's still definitely one of those really strong picks that we have been seeing across both pro play and amateur play. The Seraphine, definitely nothing to sleep on. You know, she still hasn't been nerfed enough yet. Usually we see her banned as Viticulture did see it banned against them in both the games last week. So I'm excited what Mike Wee or Sea of Thieves is going to bring out with it, as we see almost an insta-lock of Misfortune Rel. So definitely looking to play aggressive and shut down this potential Kai'Sa Seraphine bot lane, and kind of looking to play just aggressive in general in the bot lane.
Yeah, and I love this straightforward kind of AoE hard engaged team fight comp that Glizzy Gladiators are going for here. Where they've been successful so far this season, where they've found their wins in the series that they've been able to get, they've really been going for a lot of these straightforward kind of 5-on-5 team fight compositions. So really glad to see them really leaning into that here, going for that Rel Hecarim duo along with the Bullet Time ultimate from Misfortune. And there we go. We're playing Skarner Hecarim, baby. It's every game now.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when we've seen these two champions banned, we have seen a couple of different things. Like we've seen Nocturne, we've seen Sejuani, we've seen a couple of, we've seen even an Ivern. But I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it's the tried and true, right? Like you said, the two meta junglers are still available aside from Olaf and Udyr or Lilia. I think we're going to see Skarner Hecarim, and I'm wondering what Viticulture is going to go ahead and round their comp out with, is it looks like they're going to take away a couple more of Glizzy Gladiators engage tools in that Malphite, something they saw success with last week against Team Quintessence.
Yeah, the Nooner did bust out that Malphite last week in his win, and so definitely something that Viticulture is going to want to take off the board. They do have the counter pick in jungle now by taking that Skarner into the Hecarim, generally considered a favorable matchup. Hecarim a great target to ultimate because he's not too beefy that you can't melt him down, but he still does really suffer if he has to go for something like that Quicksilver Sash. He really wants to be getting his early items on that champion, so being able to pick him off with the Skarner ultimate, a really good idea. Plus, you know, the Scorpion has got twice as many legs as the horse. Really something that you got to weigh in when considering the matchups between these champions.
Absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned, Hecarim really does not want to stray too far away from their itemization. As you see Viticulture round out another dive buddy to be taken away, such as a Diana, and Glizzy Gladiators are going to go ahead and target that top lane. They're going to get rid of Kill and Darius away from the Nooner. And it does look like, I mean, they should be looking for something more bursty here, Viticulture, something that can follow up with that Skarner engage. They would likely take the top laner here, maybe keep that Seraphine, Seraphine Flex alive, but it does look like they're going to hover that Morgana, looking to maybe take a little bit more of a safety in that bot lane. And yeah, they're going to go ahead and take that Black Shield tool against the Rel engage and maybe just give Kai'Sa a little bit more protection, and even Skarner later on. They'll be able to Black Shield the Skarner, and he'll be able to kind of go in a little safer and be able to pick off a priority target. Likely to be that Hecarim, but who knows? I mean, it'll just give that Skarner a little bit more safety.
Certainly will be, and I can feel a Nico coming, Symphonic.
Oh boy.
Dr. Phil and Chill has been going for that champion quite a bit so far, and he's just going to lock in Cassiopeia. So maybe not this game, maybe not against the Morgana. Does make sense there that you don't want to really have a kind of ranged snare-based engage up against that Black Shield, but with that Cassiopeia locked in, going to be seeing a top laner here, and it is going to be the Shen to go dive buddy along with that Hecarim. Not something I'm mad at, not at all. Going to certainly be a good tool for them to continue on with those engages, and now we got to see what the top laner is going to be for the side of Viticulture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Shen, definitely one of the champions that can be harassed early, depending on the matchup. I mean, we might be seeing something like the Mordekaiser, might not be too bad here. They could take the Shen away and stop the ulti, or at least just remove him from the fight before he can really join. Top lane bruisers tend to work quite well, and I guess Tahm Kench is a top lane bruiser, unless we're seeing a potential Morgana top?
Nah, that is Tahm Kench top. Nokenbeck does go for this. He's played it before, and he's busted it out again tonight. Yeah, definitely a bit of an off-the-wall pick, not something we expect to see a lot of, and that's what Viticulture's kind of been going for so far in this league. They're playing either hard carries top lane for Nokenbeck, or they're playing Tahm Kench, and this game is going to be the latter, so we are going to be seeing that busting out on there. Not entirely sure what he goes on it. Just thinking the Tahm Kench top lane, I might expect to see something like a Hail of Blades, just going for those early devours onto the opposing champion, getting that big percentage health damage, and trying to kind of cheese the lane that way.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely understandable. Absolutely. I mean, if it's something that the Nooners, not Nooner, I'm sorry, Nokenbeck is comfortable with. I mean, it's definitely just interesting to me to take something like that. It doesn't not work with the comp, but when I take a look at kind of what GTC or Glizzy Gladiators want to do, I don't really see the Tahm Kench stopping that too much. It provides safety for maybe one of the carries, repositioning maybe for the Kai'Sa or the Seraphine, but with that all-in dive potential, I mean, it's not really gonna stop, I guess, Glizzy Gladiators from really doing that. And unless the Shen really puts himself in a position where he can be 3-auto'd and then devoured, or 3-auto'd and then stunned, I mean, there's really no way of stopping the Shen from joining most of these fights, especially early. So it'll definitely be interesting. I mean, if I'm just looking at comp straightforward, I'm kind of favoring Glizzy Gladiators here as a little bit more of an ease of execution and answer towards, a potential Skarner ulti, if they can kind of all go in and just follow up on it.
Yeah, definitely excited to see something like that here as well. Something also to consider looking at Viticulture's comp is it really is kind of at its core a pick comp, right? Because you have the long-range Dark Bindings and you have the Impale. You have Tahm Kench to go and Devour to follow up on these kind of long-term CCs that you have from the Seraphine ultimate, from the Skarner Impale, from the Dark Binding. So really, I think that's what we're mainly looking at in concept here, is we're looking to try to kind of get some long-range picks with the Morgana and the Seraphine, and we're looking to follow up on those by bringing somebody way out of position using something like the Skarner or the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Viticulture definitely has a lot of really good tools available to them to follow up with the Skarner, and I'm sure that as long as they can look for that and look to set themselves up in a 5v4 situation prior to a big team fight breaking out, or prior to a big objective, I mean, they can definitely turn the tides of really any fight. and likely set themselves ahead. I mean, it's definitely going to be a battle of wits, I guess. Can we engage before they look for a pick? Can we have enough vision control for the side of Glizzy Gladiators, or can Viticulture really stay in the dark and find a really good pick prior to a big team fighter objective? And I mean, it'll just be both teams trying to outwit the other.
Yeah, for certain, and that's why I do kind of like the not so much of a pivot, because the Seraphine's been in there for forever, but a focus into these kind of long-range pick abilities with the Morgana as well to complement when faced up against the Cassiopeia, because when you see something like the Skarner and then you pick the Cassiopeia into it, you're really looking to kind of stifle that engage, to throw down the miasma, to be able to kite back and fight in corridors and really punish people for just running into your face like that. So an interesting move by Viticulture to kind of avoid that sort of game entirely and instead be looking for the kind of kite back pokey composition that we're seeing instead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited to see what these two teams bring out, especially like we mentioned after less than successful first 2 weeks. I mean, they're both hungry for their first win. They're both really hungry to kind of show what they want, what they can bring out in this week 3, as we are unfortunately experiencing a bit of a technical delay with the league line. I'm sure maybe even some of our viewers who might be playing at the same time might be experiencing similarly.
Yeah, ye old servers encounter a couple of issues, but that's how it is sometimes. So we'll just be working right on through it. Might take a quick break soon while we get these things resolved, but for the time being, just want to keep on talking about these compositions. Really, there's not much else to say about Glizzy Gladiators Collective. Really like this kind of hard dive composition they're going in for here. The Shen's going to have a couple of different angles to come in on here. It can try to be defensive and try to save the Cassiopeia, but that's not really how you want to be using it. You really want to be on top of the Hecarim or Rel while they're going for their big engaged dives and being able to follow up on it with a taunt right afterwards. And they have great tools to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they definitely have a really good flexibility in their comp, like you mentioned, with the Shen being a really strong tool to be able to both peel for their carries or engage with the Hecarim. Like was mentioned, I mean, it's really easy for the Hecarim to just kind of dive in and be followed up with the Shen, but it also allows a really good ability to be able to stand united on top of a potential pick target by the Skarner and be able to create a little bit more time for the rest of the team to follow up. Where the side of Viticulture, I mean, did draft a lot of really safe lanes, especially with the addition of the Morgana with the Kaisa. I mean, a lot of these lanes are going to be able to kind of scale up and be able to play relatively safe until Skarner can hit 6. I mean, in the top end, I mean, you've got Tahm Kench, Lane Bully, who's going to really be able to likely sustain through a lot of ganks as long as he doesn't overextend and provide himself with no vision. Seraphine's going to be able to outrange the Cassiopeia outright, and as long as they don't misposition, will likely not be caught in any kind of miasma or really extended trade. Should just be looking for some quick poke or quick damage and then back off and look to really scale up. While the Kaisa and Morgana, they have a lot of utility in terms of being able to prevent an all-in from the Misfortune and Rel, at least pre-6. Post-6, it might be a little harder to deal with just because they do have a lot of CC to deal with, including, the Rel Ultimate, the Rel Stun, the Knockup. So the Black Shield might not necessarily provide as much safety, but it should give them enough time to really delay for the Skarner to really power farm and hit 6, and maybe get a couple ganks here or there, or maybe soak up a little bit of experience to kind of get their comp online and start looking for those picks.
Yeah, that's really where you want to be concerned on the side of Viticulture in the early game, is going to be that bottom lane. The Misfortune and Rel are likely going to be able to push these guys in using just that love tap, the double up, and the make it rain, just continuously to shove in the wave. There's not going to be too much they can really do about that on these picks, and the Skarner is not going to be a huge source of backup prior to level 6, so you got to be careful about maybe even potentially being dove by this Hecarim early on. Definitely has to be something on the radar. We're going to have to ward appropriately to be safe from something like that. And then, as you said, yeah, their solo lanes are, I would say, particularly safe. The Tahm Kench can at least stay sustained, even though that he does lack, some of those core disengage abilities. Though definitely also something that can be victimized by the Hecarim early on. If he gets taunted up and then gets dove on by Hecarim, he doesn't really have the ability to dash or to blink or to have any kind of mobility. He just has a lot of beef on him that he can kind of survive a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, speaking of just that in general about the beefiness and the setup for the bot lane, that might be something that Glizzy Gladiators are going to be able to looking to do. I mean, if they're comfortable, they can set up a lot of really good dives post 6 with the Shen, even before the Hecarim hits 6. I mean, that might be something that they look to do with the priority they're going to be able to have with the Misfortune and Rel. They might be able to set up a really good dive prior to the Skarner really coming online. So I at least I would be expecting to see something like that if GGC recognizes that the bot lane might be their best target for the early game in terms of kind of activating a little bit of that win con and getting a lane ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, we're going to throw it to a quick break here while we get some technical issues resolved, but we are going to make sure that we get that draft completed in game and that we get loaded on in. So we will be right back with the first game of the series. Just might need to take a couple minutes to get there. Do not go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that extended break, but we are back for game one here in the LHG UL between Glizzy Gladiators Collective and Viticulture Esports. We have braved our way through Riot's client issues, and we've come out on the other side for a game of League of Legends. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by Symphonic. How are you holding up, Symphonic?
Doing good. Took a bit of a bathroom break, got some water. You know, I'm ready. I'm ready for some good old League of Legends. And Riot can't stop us now.
Very good, very good. Yeah, now that we're in the game, we can trust that it should be played out as normal, not to jinx anything here. But yeah, it looks like we are going to see a little bit of a five-man stack coming out of Viticulture here, maybe looking to make some kind of delayed invade happen. But Nokenbeck just going to head on out of there. He's going to start meandering his way over to the top lane, getting ready to beat this Tom Kench top. He's going to be taking grasps, so none of those silly Hail of Blades shenanigans that we talked about being a possibility. Just going to be straight up laning here up against this Shen. Mono e mono, tank v tank.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely excited to see what it is. But yeah, like you mentioned, Viticulture definitely looking for that invade here. They are going to get spotted up by Toy, though. So, I mean, if anything, they're going to be able to get some vision. But if they don't spot the Hecarim, they could commit to this red buff. And yeah, it does look like that's what's going to happen. They are going to commit to this red buff, and we are likely going to be experiencing some vertical jungling.
Yeah, the delayed invade does quote-unquote succeed, although, like you said, might expect to see a little bit more of a vertical split coming through from Scoop, as he has the opportunity to just head on over to his own red buff here. There aren't really the dominant lanes from the side of Viticulture necessary to kind of prevent that and create a sort of 3-buff scenario for rated R 20. It's not exactly likely to happen here. So instead, we're more likely to see Scoop head on over, try to take the red buff from his opponent, the same as he's had his own red buff taken.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anything, I think this favors Viticulture. We did talk about how their bot lane might have been the weaker side of the map, or at least the one weaker side of their map, and the relatively less safe lane that could have experienced a lot of early gank pressure from the Hecarim. So splitting this map vertically is going to favor them. Skarner's going to be able to kind of just farm up to 6 and be able to likely just, they might be also just able to trade out Scuttle Crab. So Skarner will get pretty easy clear before her first back. And surprisingly, we see the bot lane of Viticulture actually pushing in. So we'll get to see kind of what Glizzy Gladiators kind of do to maybe alleviate this. Because, I mean, something tells me this shouldn't be happening too much.
Yeah, no, certainly not likely to be happening too often, but very likely once we see kind of a level 3 spike coming through from this Rel, that she is really going to start heading in for more of those early on engages. I guess they're just going to be taking a little bit more harassment early on. Misfortune not throwing too many of her abilities into the wave here, so just going to be a little bit of farming out going on here, not too much poke being exchanged from either side, and we can see that vertical jungling has come on through. Scoop did go up, clear away the birds, clear away the red buff from his opponent's red side jungle, and now might be looking around here, although that is going to be a big engage coming through Dr. Phil and Chill. Going to be getting a lot of those twin fangs over across to Mike Wee.
Yeah, and we did talk about how Mike Wee would likely want to aim to play a little bit safer in this lane and likely look to just kind of poke out and scale up. There's really no reason to be positioning too far up, especially into a Hecarim who is going to be more likely on your side of the map than anything. So, I mean, if anything, if you're Mike Wee, you really just want to sit back, relax, chill, and maybe look to scale up. But we actually are going to see rated R20 potentially look for a gank here. Cassiopeia does have her sums available and will likely have the miasma back shortly, but it does look like, yeah, looks like they're going to set up for this gank.
Yeah, they're going to be going in for this. They're going to be landing the slow in there from the fracture, followed up with the stun. Dr. Phil and Chill taking a bit low, but Scoop is here to back him up. Going to be going in for that charge and that engage. Mike Weeby going to be forced to flash on out, but nothing else can really go down here. So it's going to be flash blown for pretty much nothing other than the ghost of the Hecarim on the side of Glizzy Gladiators. You got to call that a win for the blue side.
Yeah, I mean, a good idea, not a good idea per se, but maybe like a good intentions of trying to get a little early aggression, maybe try to give Mike Wee a little bit more space in his lane. But they come out worse for wear. I mean, I would have hoped that Viticulture would have understood that, you know, they're going to lose that 2v2 as, you know, the damage from Hecarim and Cassiopeia is going to be significantly more than a Seraphine Skarner, especially when Skarner's fighting outside of those spires. So an unfortunate setback, but it does look like both mid laners are going to be looking to reset. Dr. Phil and Chill looking to push that wave and reset sooner, not expend that TP. But it looks like Mike Wee will likely be forced to do the same, but might be forced to expend that TP, unlike Dr. Phil and Chill.
Yeah, and that gank was kind of a little micro example of what is going to be Viticulture's kind of issue throughout this entire game, which is that they're super reliant on Mystic Shadow to be able to do damage here. They are a very low damage team composition, and so even when they can find good like angles, like that Skarner did onto the Cassiopeia in that last gank, it's really tough for them to just bring out enough damage to finish off the kill. Early game, mid game, late game, it's not a problem that's going to go away.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we're going to be expecting to see the Moonstaff build come out from like Wee. At least that's what we would expect to see. And that's, like you mentioned, it's going to be really reliant on Mystic Shadow's damage there. I mean, Tom Kench isn't a slouch in the DPS or in the damage department, but I mean, we're not going to really see that being unlocked until later on. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of burst damage they'll really have with a pick comp. But we're going to see the engage coming in bot lane.
Yeah, Toy's going to be getting the engage there. Nicely going to be eliminating the Black Shield there with his own Q to follow up with a stun. Nicely played. Going to force both summoners out of Mystic Shadow just to stay alive there, and he's going to be forced to take his recall.
Yeah, and that's an aggression we were talking about that we were expecting to see from the bot lane of Glizzy Gladiators, is that Misfortune and Rel, I mean, they have a really good setup. Misfortune creating that slow field so that Toy can go in with that Rel and really set up for a really good setup, for a really good CC chain. And that Black Shadow is really only going to be able to do so much. They're going to be able to burn through that relatively quickly. And as we saw, they were able to burn through it with 2 of their abilities. And then that last pop of the chain from Rel was able to set up that CC and force Mystic Shadow to back and blow both their sums. But, CFD is able to stop that back. Good stuff.
Yeah, really nicely played by Toy there, and something that Sea of Thieves is really going to have to take into account in future engages there is that just by landing that Break the Mold and getting his own passive proc off on there, Troy can bust through the Black Shield and let Attract and Repel just still be able to land the stun, and that pretty much eliminates all of the safety that they thought they had from that Black Shield pick in the bot lane.
Yeah, and if I'm Sea of Thieves, I'm trying to consider this more of like how you would play Morgana and Alistair. You don't necessarily look to Black Shield the knock-up Pulverize combo of an Alistair. You really look to set up the after effect with the Trample. So I would expect to see something similar. Maybe you don't look to Black Shield the knock-up, but maybe that chain pop and look to stop the CC coming from there, the extended CC chain. So it'll definitely take a little bit more of communication from the bot lane to really see how they're going to be able to extend those engages or those trades, because you better believe that Glizzy Gladiators bot lane is going to continue to play that aggressive role now.
Or alternatively, you'd want them to at least block the actual knockup coming on through rather than placing it afterwards, because that Shattering Strike going to be enough to block them through. And now here comes the dive coming on in from Toy, but it's going to be a smite for 20, and now they're going to be pulling the Rel back on in, going to be picking up the first blood as a result. But Seraphine has fallen down on the backside. Now Cassiopeia going to be melting right on through Mystic Shadow as well. This is a huge fight win for the Glizzy Gladiators, dragon or no dragon, and they're going to be chasing it all the way on through. Sea of Thieves taken down incredibly low here, but Scoop trying to lose a little bit of his HP as well. So they are going to finally back that one up there. They are going to win the fight 2-1, but end up losing the dragon over to Viticulture.
Yeah, really good attempt from Radar 20 to try to sneak that dragon, but it does look like Glizzy Gladiators were able to get a good amount of vision and really commit with that Shen ultimate and having their bot lane and mid rotate over to stop that that dragon. While they weren't able to necessarily stop it, they were able to take 2 kills for 1. So, I mean, it's not necessarily in favor for either side, really. I mean, they're both coming up a little even, though it does look like Viticulture is going to go down about 500 gold. But I mean, that first dragon, Ocean Soul, is going to help a little bit, but we'll see if it's worth it. A Sea of Thieves is going to take a lot of damage there. And again, we're seeing that poke come in from the bot side of Glizzy Gladiators.
Yeah, you got to be careful on this one. You're a lot like a Blitzcrank, really, when it comes to a lot of your fights. Your Q is everything. The threat of your Q is really going to be the only thing keeping you safe in a lot of situations. So if you just throw it at nothing, like Sea of Thieves did just there, you're going to end up getting engaged on because they don't fear you at all at that point.
Yeah, and Smeals is getting just so many double taps on here onto the bot lane of Viticulture. I mean, they're taking just so much damage, having just come back from that loss at the dragon. They're already having to burn some potions and looking to just kind of heal back up from that poke. And I mean, the Misfortune, I mean, with that Noon Quiver now, is going to be doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, taking a peek up over into the top lane as well, though. Nerokenbeck has built up a little bit of a CS lead for himself here, mostly due to Nooner coming on in with that Stand United for the bot lane fight, but now going to be getting the Consume there onto the Nooner. That does a lot of damage here. Following up with the auto, following up with the Q. A nice trade coming through that Tongue Kench, and there's Mystic Shadow getting protected by the Black Shield. Well played by Sea of Thieves there, though he is going to take a really harsh double up there. Going to be chunked down incredibly low once again. Just cannot get the better end of these trades, even when they Black Shield out on the engagement. That's a nice start Dark Binding landed on the so that's going to be all that they need. They're going to flash on in, go for the engage. They're going to follow it up with the Killer Instinct to pick up the kill. It's 1-for-1 so far, and now they're looking to move ever farther onto the rail. Going to be able to take him down, and now here comes Dr. Phil and Chill. He gets a nice Petrifying Gaze out of 2 targets, but he gets impaled, which the Skarner still had available. And that's going to enable a triple kill picked up to the side of Mystic Shadow. Excellently played there by him, just staying on the outskirts the entire time and following up on the CC of his teammates.
Man, what looked to be a questionable engage by Sea of Thieves, you know, not having the stopwatch available. I mean, worked out perfectly. I mean, they were able to pick up and trade 1-for-1. Skarner was able to come in from the lane gank, and he was able to, they were able to both secure the kill for Toy and then even turn around and kill Dr. Phil and Chill after the TP. So, I mean, really great execution by the side of Viticulture. I mean, they definitely showed that they're comfortable with the Skarner pick. They were able to wait for that level 6, and that tool was immediately utilized, and now that bot lane deficit is now coming up more in favor for the side of Viticulture. They'll be able to play a little bit more aggressive and match up with the aggressive bot lane that GGC were able to get ahead early.
Yeah, and this is the situation you really want to be in if you're Viticulture with this team comp here. You need Mystic Shadow to be huge in this game, as he is going to be your primary damage source. He's going to be your secondary damage source. He's going to be all the damage your team's really bringing to the table for quite a few of these fights. So being able to get a huge influx of gold onto him early is going to be great. It's going to enable you to take some of these fights earlier on, as he now has that assassination potential to bring through onto Smeals and Dr. Phil and Chill. But Nroken Beck, once again, finding some good trades on here. Once again, getting that and going to force the flash out of his lane opponent there on this Tahm Kench.
Yeah, Tahm Kench just bullying this Shen, really showing him how he's not going to be able to really lane effectively. I mean, San United now back available. They might be looking to do something with that and get Nooner out of this lane and maybe outside of just his turret. I mean, it does look like Nroken Beck is going to be able to do the best he can to really abuse this Shen and showing why they're comfortable with this pick. But here comes another big root on Toy. Oh my god, half his health already gone.
Yeah, taking so much damage there. When he can't proc the Aftershock, he's a lot squishier. Yeah. And so being able to take trades at that angle going to be really good for the side of Mystic Shadow and Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, and it does look like the Nooner was able to back here, and kind of avoid a potential setup in the top lane, as it does look like the top side of the map for Viticulture is looking to pick up some plates up there and maybe look to play away from it. But they're going to spot Hecarim in the bot lane, and it does look like they're going to be able to take this top turret. I like the idea of taking this first turret, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if we really want to see a long lane against this Shen. I mean, it's just really going to potentially give the Shen a little bit more safety, having a little bit of a longer lane to be able to kind of bring the wave towards him. But it does unlock Nroken Beck to really roam down and potentially look for an ult play with the Skarner, which with those pings does look like that's what they're going for.
And that's another big Dark Binding landed there onto Toy. Just going to be able to keep landing these onto that big hitbox of the horse mode coming through from the rail there. That one's going to go a little bit wide. But Smeals and Toy really having a bit of difficulty down here in this bot lane, especially now that so much gold has gone into Mystic Shadow, although their team is going to be looking to start up this Dragon. Although rated R20, going to go on in and steal the Infernal Drake. Are you kidding me? As now Nroken Beck is in here, he's trying to get Mystic Shadow out of there and actually going to successfully do so. A dive into the back from Scoop, but now they're focusing everything here onto Smeals. They are likely going to be able to pick it up. The Hecarim has been able to pick up Mystic Shadow on the backside, but is it too little too late, as now they're going to be moving farther? It looks like it is not, as the Glizzy Gladiators are dominating this fight across the board, although a double kill actually ends up being picked up by Broken Back, as well as another one. It's now Viticulture is taking it on the other side. The Nooner is the last man standing. That's going to be a triple kill picked up for Nroken Back. Well played there on the Tahm Kench. They end up losing Mystic Shadow, but he had already gotten so much accomplished and they had sectioned off the team fight so well. That's going to be a win for Viticulture.
Yeah, both the Dragon Seal and 3 kills. I mean, all 3 of them going over to Nroken Beck, and I mean, a solid. I'm not sorry, 2 of them going over to Nroken Beck, but I mean, super good play there by Viticulture. I mean, they were able to get in there, steal the dragon. They were able to pick off the Cassiopeia with the Skarner Impale, and they were able to burst her down before she was able to get out of that ulti. And on the flip side, or the bottom side of the fight, I mean, Nroken Beck with that roam down at the bottom was really able to turn that fight and pick up 2 kills for himself. So that Tahm Kench paying dividends right now. And I mean, this is really, like we mentioned, what Viticulture wants to do. They want to get these advantages right now with the leads that they have and really make this all-in comp from GGC a lot weaker as we head over to the mid game.
Yeah, and this 3 support composition for Mystic Shadow really came through in that last fight, actually. You saw even Nroken Beck. Mystic Shadow was getting dived on early on in the fight by the Rel and by the Shen, and Nroken Beck just devours him on out, spits him out on the other side, and now you have a huge frontliner in front of you to kite back against. Eventually, Scoop is able to onslaught of Shadows into the backline and pick him up, but just so much extra time there bought by this Tahm Kench.
Yeah, and I mean, that's definitely what you like to see, and I'm glad that we get to see the fact that they were able to use that Rift Herald effectively top lane. Like I mentioned, it was a little questionable to really open up that lane, that long lane for the Shen, but I mean, Viticulture proving me wrong. I mean, they were able to make something of it. They were able to rotate that Tom Kench down. Oh man, Toy. Whew, that's so much damage, but they were able to rotate down that Tom Kench and really make use of that lead he was establishing up in the top lane, and if anything, extend that lead for himself with those 2 kills that he was able to pick up.
Yeah, that's a pretty big lead now across the entire map for the side of Viticulture. They're about 3K, 4K ahead now, and they're looking pretty powerful in this game. Is Rated R20 going to find Scoop in this jungle here, trying to steal away the red buff, but the Hecarim is not going to let that happen, going to smite it on away, but end up Darkbound. Now they're trying to collapse in on this, though. They do have the nice big a huge petrifying gaze on multiple members, and they're all stuck in the miasma. There's so much damage coming out of Dr. Phil and Chill here. He's going to be able to melt through 3, make that 4 as they finish off everybody on the side of Viticulture Esports. A perfect fight for the Cassiopeia, going to enable a triple kill for Scoop, and now Nrokenbeck is the last man standing for his team, trying to turn it around on Detroit here, but it does look like Scoop is going to be here to back him on up, although the Attractor Repel still coming on through. Nrokenbeck takes no damage from these 2 horses here, and he's just going to keep walking on through.
Oh man, one good play followed by a little bit of an overextension, a little bit of greed coming out of Viticulture, looking to really continue to assert their dominance, but unfortunately they just weren't in position for it, and it does look like Glizzy Gladiators were able to turn this around, but Toy actually looking to bait this one in, but no. Broken Neck saying, you know, I'm a big toad, you're not going to stop me, or I'm, you know, you're not going to really be able to do much to me, I'm a pretty big guy. But I mean, yeah, I mean, a little bit of greed by the side of Viticulture, and it just continues. I mean, hey, Tom Kench is the Fortune champion, right?
Try to turn this around. Troy flashes right on top and get one more auto attack off, but he's not going to get devoured quite yet. They do finally try to get it, but in the mid cast, he gets taken down. All Sea of Thieves is going to be able to catch out on the Toy here, but now with their main frontline source down and with Sea of Thieves a little bit too far, they're going to be able to pick up another kill here. That is now 7 kills in the pocket of Scoop here. He is massive in this game, and he has closed most of the gold gap.
This is not good if you're Viticulture. I mean, you were playing the early game so well. You were really just nullifying any kind of mid-game team fight potential that Glizzy Gladiators might have had. But okay, well, hold on.
Mystic Shadow here going to get the isolated miss. Wait, the second one. He's finally the last one on his heels there. Oh, that would have been a tilter if he wasn't able to pick that one up. Does finally manage to do so. Flash it over the wall to follow his target, trading flashes at the end of the day, and going to be able to get that solo kill on the Smeals.
Yeah, okay. Oh boy, I mean, the action's not going to stop, it looks like.
Yeah, no, Onslaught of Shadows coming in from Hecarim. This Kai'Sa has no chance as he's going to end up going down there. Scoop now legendary on this Hecarim.
3 greedy plays in a row for Viticulture, but I mean, that's not stopping anytime soon.
Oh my goodness, they are still just going on ever farther. Dr. Phil and Chill just getting CC'd for too long there. Dark Binding into Impale. They're going to be able to take him down on the backside of that. Kills going on all over the place, all over the map here, as now there's going to be 4 members of Viticulture looking to set up this siege in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it looks like they're not going to stop again. This action does not stop as this next dragon is spawning up right now, and it is going to be the first of many potential Cloud Dragons here, and it does look like Viticulture is going to look to take this back for themselves. The TPs are coming through. Seraphine looking to join the fight, but they don't have Mystic Shadow yet, so this could potentially be bad, though Dr. Phil and Chill also won't be able to join the fight right away, but does have the TP available. Oh no.
He does, but that's going to be a big binding landing on a Scoop here. This would be a huge shutdown. They're going to be able to do it. A big shutdown picked up there for Rated R20, and this means they get full run of the dragon. Dr. Phil and Chill completes the teleport in, but he's got no jungler left, and that means that Viticulture likely going to be able to pick this one up and going to be able to take themselves to Soul Point.
Yeah, I mean, this Cloud Drake definitely a really good soul for them. I mean, it's going to be able to help both Rated R20 on the Skarner, Seraphine ulti after having her ult cooldown be nerfed in the last patch, and even even just the movement speed available to them. I mean, this is going to be pretty big, as it looks like they're going to be able to look to turn this towards this Rift Herald and looking to pick this up right before it despawns for the Baron at 20 minutes. And Viticulture, after a lot of potentially greedy plays, are still able to come out on top with a almost 3K gold lead.
Yeah, it's not been pretty. It's been
no, not at all.
See, there's been 25 kills already this game, but the early game comp, really that was presented by Glizzy Gladiators here more than anything, not really making it happen. Although there's a big engage coming in through right onto Sea of Thieves, they're gonna be able to melt through him right away. And now Nrokenbeck finds himself in a 1 versus 4, gonna try to trade back on a Toy once again, but not going to be able to do so. Mystic Shadow finding himself dived onto the back line, and he's gonna get taken down by Scoop, and that is going to be a 3-for-0 in favor of Glizzy Gladiators. It really feels like they're so favored in these fights, but they just keep finding picks like this. As Rated R20 goes in onto Scoop, and Scoop is regenerating damage. Smite onto the birds, and he's just coming on across. He's going to be able to finish on a Mike Wee Wee, and now Rated R20 just has to flash on out of there. This Hecarim is bigger than you expect.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just no damage there. I mean, yeah, taking a look at items, I mean, it does look like Mike Wee decided to go for the Leandry's build as opposed to the Moonstaff build, which is a little bit questionable, but there's still not enough damage. I mean, Rated R20, really good presence of mind to try to pick off Scoop here and try to continue this bloodbath. But without that damage from either Kaisa or even Broken Beck on the Tom Kench, there's really no way to burn through this now 9-1 and 5 Hecarim with the Sterix Gauge and Divine Sunder. I mean, this horse, it's a big horse now. It's not your 10-minute horsey that had 0 kills and very little assists. It's a big threat that's not necessarily going to die to 1 Impale.
Yeah, we're in full thoroughbred territory here, as Symphonic, as now he's got 2 items to his name, and he is absolutely massive in this game. And you can see some of these itemization choices for the side of Viticulture are really just the result of how low damage their composition is. You talked about the Leandries for the Seraphine maybe not being the best in-slot item, and I think you're seeing a lot of similar stuff from this Titanic Hydra for the Tom Kench too. You might want just to be building straight health and straight tank stats to just be more effective on this frontliner, but you also need him to bring you a little bit of damage because you can't rely on Kaisa to do everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you mentioned, I mean, we are going to have to start seeing some resistances come out of this Tom Kench. The last time he was picked off right after that Riftfield, I mean, he got burned right through by Dr. Phil and Chill. I mean, there's no magic resist in this build aside from the minimal magic resist he gets from his Mythic. I mean, it's only 25 magic resist. That's not necessarily going to be enough to help sustain through Dr. Phil and Chill and even Smeal's damage later on. So I do expect some resistances to come in after that Titanic Hydra. But like you mentioned, yeah, I mean, you really can't make up this damage by just foregoing resistance items. It's not going to bode well. And even this Seraphine going for the Leandry's build, sure, it's damage, but I mean, it makes me wonder. I mean, it's really putting her behind already at 0-3 and 7, not really having that item or having those items where the Moonstaff itemization, you might have already been able to see both of those items completed since it's such a more cost-efficient build. But yeah, I mean, we'll get to see. I mean, Viticulture definitely going to be playing on the back foot now, even with that 2K gold lead.
Yeah, interested to see if Mike Weeby brings out an Ardent Sensor even without the Moonstone Renewal. Just feels like something that might be really effective here because you really do need to empower Mystic Shadow to carry these fights. And it's not going to be Morgana building one of these. And if you're not really empowering Mystic Shadow with additional on-hit items, then it really does call into question why you have a 3 support composition built around this Kaisa, who actually has itemized here, interestingly enough, for the Serpent's Fang. Going to be an anti-shielding item against Rel, against Shen. I can't say I dislike it. It actually seems like a very interesting item choice here.
It's definitely interesting if he's around for when a Skarner gets that Impale pick. I mean, you'll definitely be able to burn through that that Shen ulti, but let's stop that for a bit. It does look like Glizzy Gladiators are attempting to do the Baron here. I mean, a really good heads up play since Tom Kench is bot lane. I mean, but unfortunately, I mean, they're not going to be able to burn through that as quickly as they would expect, and it does look like Viticulture is going to be able to respond and look to maybe reset as this next dragon is coming up relatively shortly, and it is going to be their soul. But if you're Viticulture, do you really want to take this next dragon right away? Do you really want to give Glizzy Gladiators access to a potential Elder Dragon so early? I mean, right now you're kind of holding on by a thread, right? I mean, it's not necessarily working. Your pick comp isn't necessarily working too well when your only target is a really fed, strong Hecarim. So I don't know. It's a little questionable on me on whether or not you really want this soul right away. But here comes a potential pick by our...
He's coming in from Rated R20, but does he have the backup? He's got his Kaisa on the other side. He is going to be going for the scoop. It's a huge petrifying gaze.
Yeah.
For Phil and Chill, that's just going to dominate across this fight. They're trying to turn it around. Mike Weeby on the other side, but Mystic Shadow is completely zoned off. He isn't doing any damage yet. Now he's arrived back on in. He has to try to focus on a Scoop here, but he's a little bit too far forward, and he's going to get taken down. Smeals has fallen as well here, but Scoop has the full opportunity to just carry this fight. He's got to finish off Mike Weeby first. He does manage to do so, and now with these 2 frontliners facing down just the Catfish, they're going to be able to take him down. A triple kill picked up there for Nooner, and it's going to be a big fight win for the Glizzy Gladiators.
And a good thought process there by Viticulture, trying to turn that fight around into a 5v4 or a 4v5 again before the spawning of the Cloud Drake. But with your Kaisa just being mispositioned on the other side of the team fight, you don't have that burst. And again, we see Rated R20 going for the Hecarim, looking to get rid of that jungler so that there is no potential for a contest. But it's just not working. I mean, your Kai'Sa's not there. She's your biggest damage. Your only real damage that you have left is that Seraphine, and that Seraphine's still only at 1 item. It's not going to be enough. And I mean, we saw what happened there. I mean, Hecarim didn't even fall below half health. The Stand United was channeled, and I mean, it just turned into a bloodbath in favor of Glizzy Gladiators. They were able to pick up their first dragon, and realistically catching up on that gold lead. I mean, only about 1,000 gold separates both teams. But again, the longer this goes and the more resources you start giving Glizzy Gladiators, the easier it is for their comp to kind of do what they intended to do and just kind of all in that backline and survive through that initial pick engage.
Yeah, Scoop just cannot be picked at this point. He's got the Shen ultimate coming on top of him. He's got the Sterix gauge for additional shielding. And it means that even when you pick him off with that Impale, he just doesn't actually end up dropping all that low. And he has the most gold of any single champion in this game. So as long as he's able to stay alive and just get those rampages going on across the entire fight, it's pretty much a guaranteed win for the side of Glizzy Gladiators. There's so much power held in Scoop's hands right now. And if they can't finish him off, they can't win fights.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost comically telegraphed here by Viticulture, as their target has been Scoop. And you see Scoop start kind of building towards those resistances, and in turn, you actually start seeing pretty much no need for the QSS to be coming out, aside from now that we see Smeals pick up that QSS. I mean, no other champion up until this point has really felt it needed, because they haven't really been targeted by this Skarner. It's really just been, let's, lock up this pony and try to take him out before they can really do anything. But I mean, maybe now that it hasn't worked, maybe for the third time, we're going to start seeing some different target prioritization, or really only looking for that Hecarim target if Kai'Sa is around to follow up and potentially burn through that Stand United shield. As we're seeing a little bit of a split focus here, it does seem like Glizzy Gladiators are looking to clear up vision. It is going to be spotted out by Mikey Wee Wee, and it's going to be, proccing that Baron. And it might look like it's going to be a Baron dance for this next potential objective.
Yeah, just looking to keep setting up for fights here is Viticulture. They just want to be able to find this angle onto Scoop to be able to take him down. They're really stuck in an awkward position here with this Hecarim because, you like you said, they failed the last couple of fights by trying to go for a pick onto him, but it's kind of what you pick the Skarner to do, and it's what you kind of have to do because he's so huge here, they can't really stop him otherwise, though. Nroken Beck, though, on this split push, being incredibly effective here.
God.
He's going to solo out onto the Nooner again, although he does have backup here coming in from his support. Troy going to be diving on in here, but he does no real damage on his own, and the Shen doesn't do enough to follow up the flash. The stun they're trying to melt on through, the shield comes through and is going to enable Nroken Beck to be able to trade back, but now the shutdown gets picked up by Toy. It's across the map, a 1-for-1 here, and that means Viticulture is actually going to be looking to start up onto this Baron. They know the opposing support is still in the bot lane, so only 3 people could be up here to contest him. Now they're going to flash on forward, they're going to get the Impale onto Dr. Phil and Chill and melt right on through him, and now it's Hecarim in a 1 versus 4 situation. The bullet time comes across, but it's only really landing onto rated R20. Now a huge ultimate comes through from Toy, but it has no follow-up because the rest of the team is already dead, as now they're trying to move forward onto Smeals. Can he survive this fight? No, he does end up being taken down. Toy is going to follow, and then it's going to be an ace for for Viticulture Esports.
Oh my God, and Nroken Beck, I mean, really just kind of pulling out all the stops in that bot lane, attracting more than one person, attracting 2 people, and that's what you want to have from a split pusher who's just really a nuisance and a big threat. I mean, you clearly saw the Nooner cannot handle this Tahm Kench in a straight up 1v1, and you're forced to send potentially the less damage dealing member of your team and Toy to that bot lane, and sure, you're able to take him down, but Nroken Beck is able to take a kill, and that just means that Viticulture is going to immediately be able to turn into that Baron, and whatever's left for you to be able to use of your Glizzy Gladiators to stop the Baron is going to instantly just pop. And I mean, we saw rated R20, he picked a really good target this time. He was able to take that Cassiopeia, who had not yet invested in the Quicksilver Sash, and was able to just immediately burst her down. And with that damage and that control from Cassiopeia gone, Scoop really had no choice but to really try to fight and stall, but until the rest of his team got there. But it was a little too late after that, and now it's just going to be, like you mentioned, an easy Baron for the side of Viticulture. They're looking to push out these lanes and create more pressure in the opposite lane while they wait for this Cloud Drake and potential Soul to come up, and it does look like they're going to look to take this down.
Yeah, once again, Glizzy Gladiators really do feel the need to contest this here. They're not going to be able to scale forever, but Dr. Phil and Chill going to be forced to use the Petrifying Gaze there, and now another big engage onto Scoop. He's pulled way out of position. That's actually Toy. I misidentified the horse there, as now Nroken Beck is going to find himself in a 1 versus 2 once again, but this time instead of a lowly support, it is going to be Dr. Phil and Chill coming through with the Twin Fangs to be able to pick up onto that Catfish.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, while Narokin Beck isn't able to trade 1-for-1, I mean, he's still doing his job. He's still creating that pressure. He's drawing more than one person, and they're able to turn this. But Scoop isn't looking to give this away.
No, he comes in for this, but he isn't able to pick it up now, just trying to dash on out of there as quickly as he can. He dodges out on the encore entirely, but Mystic Shadow trying to chase him down, flashes on forward, follows up with the autos, and is able to pick him up. Nicely played there by Mystic Shadow. Going to make that into 2 dead across the map, 1 for each team as Troy is coming back on up. And it is going to be Viticulture now, looking to make a little bit of a push onto the base here. The Nooner are going to have to either recall or stand united or teleport back in at some point here as his base is getting knocked on.
I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of taking this inhibitor here unless they're able to turn this fight.
He's stunned on up, going to follow that one up through with the Everfrost, and they are going to be able to take him down. Nicely played there by Sea of Thieves. And now here comes another Impale, this time onto Toy. They're going to be able to just melt right on through him. In comes the autos, and now there's going to be the Nooner going in onto Mystic, but he's going to be eaten on out by the Tom Kench, and that is going to enable him to just keep dishing on after this. It's a huge win for Viticulture, and they are going to take their first win in this series and their first win in the LHG UL as they move on to the Nexus, unless Scoop has something to say. He dives on in here. He's got 11 kills. He's a very threatening hacker. He will eventually be taken down. That's a win for Viticulture.
Oh, Viticulture with just kind of that mentality of we're going all in, we're pressing, we're just pushing on through, we're accelerating this game, and they're able to take up pretty much everything they need. They're able to turn all these fights and all this pressure that Broken Back was able to place onto Glizzy Gladiators and turn it into win after win. First the Baron, then the Dragon, then the follow-up pick, and what looked to be a potential questionable inhibitor take just turned into Glizzy Gladiators kind of handing the game over to them by fighting a number disadvantage fight. And I mean, solid end right there. I mean, from start to finish, I mean, Viticulture, as soon as they got the ball rolling, they never really stopped. Even when it looked bad, they turned it into potentially good. And they were able to make up for some of those questionable choices in the mid game by closing this game out in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I said in Champions Select that Narokin Beck often spends all of his games either playing these top lane, side lane carries for the split push or Tom Kench, but it turns out Tom Kench can just be grouped into that first group there, as he was just able to dominate the side lane the entire game, constantly able to be a side lane threat that nobody on the side of Glizzy Gladiators could answer, and that honestly gave them so many opportunities. That's what allowed them that huge Baron fight. That's what allowed them to win some of these huge Dragon fights off of the advantage that Narokin Beck had, and he was able to really come through huge on this Tom Kench.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things, right? I mean, you have to, if you're the side of Glizzy Gladiators, I mean, you had to identify how you're going to deal with Broken Beck and with that split push. I mean, clearly it was that Nooner was not going to be able to handle it, but time and time again, they kept sending the, Nooner to match up that Tom Kench, and it just was not working for them. I mean, the first time they ended up sending toys, it was not pleasant, it wasn't favorable, and then when they finally sent Dr. Phil and Chill to really deal with him with the help of Nooner, it cost him a dragon and then the game. I mean, it's just hard to deal with a split push threat that you haven't been kind of keeping in its place. It was Tom Kench or Narokin Beck was able to get a really big lead on that top lane. The Nooner was almost never able to really deal with him, and it showed. He got that lead, he ran with it, and he created all those opportunities for his team to really make use of that Skarner ulti and Pale and really turn those fights into a favorable numbers advantage and favorable objective takes.
Yeah, Viticulture really able to get an advantage for themselves there on that off-the-wall top lane pick. Now got to see how Glizzy Gladiators want to respond to that as we get into Game 2. We're going to need to throw it to a quick break here as we get into draft for Game 2. But we will be just right back very soon, any further client issues notwithstanding. Welcome back, everybody. We are here into Draft 4 Game 2 down here in the LHG UL between Glizzy Gladiators Collective and Viticulture Esports. Just watch Viticulture take their first win of the LHG UL this season in the previous game, and now going to be looking to follow it up with another one to close on out the series. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by Zymphonic. Zymphonic, we are seeing some pretty standard bans so far, although it is going to be the Skarner ban coming across from Glizzy Gladiators this time.
Yeah, and I expect Viticulture to maybe look to ban out that Hecarim. I do expect Glizzy Gladiators to take that if it's left open, as one of the bigger counters is gone. And yep, it does look like, but what it is going to leave open is that Udyr, and I can almost smell that Udyr coming through. Though there are a couple other picks. I mean, Lilia was left open by Glizzy Gladiators this time as well.
That is true, so might see a little bit of a different angle coming on through here with a couple of different power junglers left available. Olaf's still going to be hitting the ban table, though, nonetheless, and it is going to be Glizzy Gladiators leading up with the Kai'Sa pick for themselves. Yeah,
I mean, Kai'Sa, again, we mentioned one of the stronger picks, one of the stronger AD carries, definitely still first pickable, but it does leave Viticulture to not necessarily pick the AD here. They could take a couple picks. Tahm Kench is still available, and so is Seraphine, as we, mentioned in the first game. It's one of these champions that you don't see left up too often, especially in amateur. You do see it left up in pro play a little bit, and it's not necessarily always picked. But with Seraphine comes a Lilia, and man, I smell a disengaged comp, and it's going to be a hard time for that Kai'Sa to be able to get that assistance that she needs to be able to dive onto that backline.
Yeah, really easy to angle some Seraphine ultimates once multiple targets are already put to sleep by the Lilia there. So now going to be up to the side of the Glizzy Gladiators to respond here. If they want the Udyr, they're going to pretty much have to take it here or risk Viticulture banning it away in the second phase of bans. The Galio going to be locked on through here. That is expected to be going support, you would believe, down in bottom lane with the Kai'Sa, although could be flexed over to the mid lane. Now we're going to be seeing show me the Udyr, Glizzy Gladiators.
Show me, yeah, something. I mean, it might be the Udyr. I mean, it's definitely not super favorable into this, but I mean, it's definitely an option. But yeah, Udyr, I mean, definitely still one of the fastest clears of the jungle. It provides a lot of early utility and a lot of early gank pressure that maybe Lilia won't be able to provide. I mean, she definitely still can, but it's not as straightforward as an Udyr coming in and just, monkey stancing, bear stancing, phoenix stancing you to death. But it is going to be paired up with that Galio that can be flexed towards mid and bot. It does provide a follow-up engage that might allow the Kai'Sa to maybe dive in a little safer. And it does look like Viticulture is going to look to take up that Jinx, a hyper carry for a hyper carry. And one of these champions that's been on the up and up ever since, it's been buffed these last couple patches. We have been seeing it in pro play. It is a decent answer into the Kai'Sa, as it is going to outrange, and it is going to have access to that rocket and minigun form. It's going to have access to a lot of push potential, and if left unchecked and able to get a couple kills, can be just as threatening as that Kai'Sa.
Yeah, for sure there. And now this is the moment where Glizzy Gladiators, I think, can really change up the draft here. They're going to ban away that Tahm Kench. They're not going to deal with that garbage again. And now they're going to be able to maybe look for perhaps a more favorable matchup for themselves up in the top lane. Because the Nooner just really could not find his footing up against that Tahm Kench in game 1. And now they're going to be looking to avoid the issue entirely coming on into game 2.
Yeah, and it looks like Viticulture is definitely kind of maybe potentially sniffing out what they want to get. I mean, they do lack a little bit of hard engage to follow up with that Galio aside from the Chemtech Udyr, so they are going to look to knock down or to take away that Malphite engage as well as the Camille that pairs up really well with a Galio, especially if it goes mid. It'll allow to open up for those roam potential or that ult potential to the top lane, and maybe provide a little bit more of a lead for the top side of the map for Glizzy Gladiators. But now we really get to see again if they want to flex a Seraphine. I mean, last time they didn't. They definitely have the option here, but I almost expect a support pick or a mid pick here, as they might want to give counter to Nroken Beck, and it does look like that's what's going to happen. Rel is going to be locked in, a really decent pairing, and a pairing that could do really well with the Jinx to lock up that Kai'Sa like we saw in game 1, but for the opposite side. And now we're going to have to see what the Nooner is going to be able to bring in blind here. I mean, does he want to carry, or is he just going to be forced on another tank duty?
Yeah, I mean, does Dr. Phil and Chill play this Galio mid? Because if he does, this should be a really easy place to pick Alistar. Just take the favorable matchup, and then Galio will do just fine up against Seraphine in the mid lane.
Okay.
It's going to be a very similar look here. It's going to be the Rakan lock-in that still allows them to rotate up this Galio up to the mid lane. He's going to be just fine against Seraphine. He's just going to wave clear all day, and he's going to look to roam at level 6. He's going to be fine. And now they have the good counter pick down here to the Rel in this Rakan. They're going to be having some pretty good opportunities to punish here. She's really telegraphed telegraphed with where she's going to end up when she goes for that dive, and that means you can line up for some very good knockups coming in from the Rakan. And now they're going to blind pick Cho'Gath for the top lane as well. Another safe pick up there. Maybe not quite as feeling the Shen now after what it suffered through last game. So now we're going to be taking this Cho'Gath and feeling like with Tahm Kench banned away, it should be pretty safe in fairly any matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, now what we're seeing, though, is a little bit of potential lack of damage from Glizzy Gladiators. They're going to be relying on the Kai'Sa to do a lot of the damage, but we'll get to see what Viticulture wraps this up with, and it looks like they're going to take the Shen for themselves, as they're going to, as you know, Neroken Beck is going to say, anything you can do, I can do better. Let me show you my Shen real quick. Into this Cho'Gath. I mean, Cho'Gath has multiple ways of interrupting the Shen ulti. I mean, he does have the silence, he has the knockup. Overall, he can do fairly well into this Cho'Gath and trade and sustain fairly well into anything the Shen really brings. So definitely looking to put Neroken back in a little bit more of a supportive role and not necessarily that lane dominant bully that we saw from the Tahm Kench. But it does open up once again for Mystic Shadow to really, the game to be really put into Mystic Shadow's hands. I mean, you have these supportive champions like the Seraphine, the Shen, and the Rel to really back you up and to empower you to carry the game, and you have the Lilia for that setup. So it's once again going to be the Mystic Shadow show, and we're going to have to see how he can fare into this new, again, kind of hard engage comp that Glizzy Gladiators have drafted for themselves.
Yeah, I definitely like the look of this Glizzy Gladiators composition, though. Going to have a lot of really great engage tools there, and really not a ton of the best responses coming in through from the side of Viticulture. You said with their first two rotations that they were looking like they wanted some kind of disengage composition, and they still kind of are on that wavelength, but they do not have a lot of the best answers here to really stop these things like Ujir, Galio, Rakan from basically just running at them and trying to CC them up. They have the Encore, they have the Lilia Sleep, they have Flame Chomp that they want them, but it's going to be tough to really stop them from eventually reaching onto Viticulture's backline.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if they're able to pair up with that Rakan. I mean, if that Rakan, their Rakan doesn't necessarily have to be playing back with the Kai'Sa. The Kai'Sa wants to dive in with her front line. So, I mean, Rakan's going to be kind of activated and able to kind of just unlock his potential, go in, you know, battle dance through people and be able to set up really for maybe a knock-up in quickness. You know, that Grand Entrance is going to be able to potentially knock up a lot of these squishier targets in the Jinx, the Lilia, and the Seraphine, and the Galio is going to be able to follow up pretty well into that. So, I mean, it's like you mentioned, Viticulture doesn't necessarily have a lot of really good answers to this hard engage unless they're able to use some of these tools like the Seraphine, Encore, the Lilia, Lullaby to reposition for this Jinx. And I mean, that's kind of what you want to do if you're Viticulture. You want to protect this Jinx. Mike Wee Wee on the Seraphine wasn't too impressive last game, as it seemed like he struggled a bit in that mid lane. So you're looking to really put him in that supportive role and really look to create space for Mystic Shadow, who had a really good game one. So it'll be interesting to say the least. It's once again Viticulture's game to really show us what they can do with this potentially unfavorable comp, and seeing if they can kind of do what they did with last game and get themselves ahead and maybe reel back the over aggression and not necessarily give too much of what they take.
Yeah, and something I'm going to want to emphasize this game is that the macro game is going to come into these two team comps a lot, because whoever's able to get onto these objectives first, who's ever able to get river control and really set up their vision into the opposing jungle, is going to have a massive advantage. Both of these team compositions really excel at controlling choke points and punishing teams for walking into them, and neither one really has some of the best tools to avoid having to walk through those chokes up against their opponents. There's not a lot of ways to cheat over walls, at least for the front line of these teams. You know, if Shen or Rel are jumping over for Viticulture, it's really losing them out on their biggest engaged potentials. The same is true for this Rakan on the side of Glizzy Gladiators, and Udyr and Galio and Cho'Gath can't really get over the walls in the first place. So they're all just going to have to walk on through these chokes, and that means that they can, either team can dump pretty much everything they have up into those choke points and punish the other team for walking in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that chokehold and that control is going to be really important, and that vision control is going to be just as important. Another thing to note is the fact that, you know, Glizzy Gladiators does have access to that Cho'Gath in the top lane, so if they can get him on a rotation early for these early Drakes, it just about secures them a potential, you know, early Dragon lead. So, I mean, that's one way to guarantee that you'll be able to get these early Dragons and kind of get yourself ahead in terms of neutral objectives and maybe even those Rift Heralds. So I really do expect Glizzy Gladiators to really work on putting that Cho'Gath in the right spot at the right time for these neutral objectives. And it'll, like you mentioned, it'll be really on to both teams to really set themselves up for these objectives early around Vision, and maybe look to fight in those chokeholds, but be the aggressors, be the ones that can set up that control, and not necessarily fall on their back really, and kind of fall in prey to what the other team wants to do. You know, Glizzy Gladiators looking for that hard engage, while Viticulture maybe looking for that pseudo pick potential that they have with the Shen, with the Rel, with the Lily and the Seraphine. But we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely excited for game 2.
As am I. So we are going to take a quick break here while we get loaded on up into game 2. Still encountering a little bit of issues over on the client side, so might be a little bit of a longer break here. Hopefully not as long as last time, because we will be right back as soon as we can be for game 2. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the LHG We have got Glizzy Gladiators Collective coming up against Viticulture Esports here, looking to tie up this series at 1-1, while Viticulture looking to close it on out. My name is Gordo, and Zymphonic, I'm going to have to hand it over to you here, as it looks like we might be moving right on into the jungle.
Yeah, it looks like that invade was spotted out early, though, by Smeals, but it does not look like that's going to deter Viticulture at all. They're looking to set up this early vision, maybe not necessarily looking to split the map like they did last game. Ooh, really close by Nerokin back there, but he is going to be forced to start Taunt here into not the best matchup to start Taunt into for this Cho'Gath. So, I mean, a good attempt, but I mean, Viticulture, again, getting that ward they want. They're going to be able to spot out whether or not Glizzy Gladiators' Scoop is going to be able to start on that bot side of the map, but it does look like Scoop was able to do the same and get a ward on the Viticulture's red buff. So, ward for ward, spotting for spotting, and we're going to get to see what happens, as it does look like Glizzy Gladiator is going to come on top here. They're going to know that rated R20 is going to start on those. Well, they're going to start on the chickens. So, I mean, they might not see him for a while. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they should technically still spot each other, especially if they don't see, you know, the Udyr start on the bot side of the map, but actually going to clear this out. And they might actually seem like they might be. Yeah, it does look like Glizzy Gladiator is going to get the advantage here. I mean, Viticulture not going to necessarily know exactly where they're going to start.
Yeah, and it kind of got lost in the chaos of last game because we had like a kill a minute for quite a while there. But there were actually some really interesting jungle pathing coming out of Viticulture at level 1. They were able to split the map vertically like we talked about. Rated R20 was able to steal away that red buff right away to get started off. And we're interested to see if he tries to repeat for anything interesting this game. Obviously not going to be starting on an opponent buff this game, but that was able to really let them get Mystic Shadow ahead and was really able to let them get a good advantage the way they wanted it on the map. It's curious to see if he's able to pull off something similar this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is going to be passing towards that bot side of the map, so it might be where they're looking to do. Oh boy, the bot side's going to hit level 2.
Yeah, they're going to go right in off that level 2 power spike, but Smeals and Toy do hit it at a very similar time, able to manage their wave appropriately. And so not really ending up taking too low. And Mystic Shadow actually taking the wrong side of this trade. They go on in for the grand entrance. They're going to flash forward for the last auto, and he is burning down with the Ignite. He is going to just barely survive, but that does appear to be a little bit of a lost fight there for the other side, as Viticulture both taking incredibly low, both out of summoner spells. Meanwhile, Toy still has the flash, Smeal still has the heal, and now the side of Viticulture's bot lane really going to have to take a recall here as they're taking so incredibly low.
Yeah, a little bit of over aggression there, even by Mystic Shadow, positioning really aggressively there, trying to get those early trades into the Kai'Sa with that rocket launcher. But I mean, they come out worse for wear there. And I mean, now that potential setup in the by rated R20 to go to the bot lane is not going to be in their favor. He's not really going to be able to find anything here. I mean, it's going to take a while for Mystic Shadow to come back. Summoners aren't going to be able, so any potential gank into this bot side might not be favorable as we start seeing Lilia head towards the mid lane.
Yeah, the gentleman Cho'Gath making an appearance up in the top lane, so we're gonna get to hear some nice quips throughout the rest of the game. Very excited for that. But Broken Back, he's got the hardest name to say in the league. Going to be really getting a nice little push for himself early on here. Looking like he might get a little bit frozen on here up against Nooner, likely being punished for that taunt start, but hasn't taken too much of a hit CS-wise. Really, if anything, he's a little bit ahead. Pretty close here as the Nooner is going to be equalizing off of this wave, but definitely not too much worse for wear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Nerokin back definitely still being the aggressor in this matchup, taking a lot of trades here, but Nooner has a lot of sustain when those Vorpal spikes are available. Is going to be able to trade back pretty well against the Shen, but it does look like it's just going to be a wet noodle fight up there. I mean, both champions are already burning through their pots. Cho'Gath, though, does have the edge on that sustain thanks to his passive, so it'll be definitely Nooner favored, at least for now, as you see Lilia stepping up into this mid lane, potentially looking for something here.
Yeah, the bowling ball comes on across, going to slow down on Dr. Phil and Chill a little bit, but he's able to just walk on away. Doesn't look like they can do too much else against this chicken.
Yeah, Nooner here, though, also building a really big wave up in the top lane, as we do see Lilia get spotted out on a ward here, it looks like. So any kind of potential invade here is going to be spotted, and it does look like we're going to see the rotation coming from the Nooner first.
Yeah, it does appear to be going on here as rated R20 now going to get collapsed on here. He's going to get Flash Player slapped, going to follow up with the Rupture, and he doesn't appear to have anywhere to go. That's going to be first blood picked up for the Udyr, and now Scoop going to look to repeat his performance from last game, looking to pick up a little bit of a double for himself here, actually going to give that one over to Dr. Phil and Chill. That's a great start if you're the Glizzy Gladiators.
Yeah, a bit of that over aggression that rated R20 was able to get in that first game with that Skarner on those invades just isn't going to be as favorable. As I mean, Udyr does have a lot of that early game damage that isn't necessarily that's brought up just through the shifting of his stances. I mean, it's not someone you really want to duel against. I mean, Lilia, no slouch in the dueling department herself, but definitely is not going to be able to match up to that Udyr early game damage, especially with the Cho'Gath getting the first rotation. But we might see Scoop here getting caught out. No, he's going to be able to run away. I mean, Udyr, big bear, run fast, spur.
He do go fast. And Nooner actually coming out with some great wave manipulation up in that top lane. He was really freezing it against Rokenbeck for a while there to guarantee that he would be able to pick up some more CS. And then as his jungler is coming on up into the top side looking for potentially that Scuttle Crab, he pushes it back out and he's able to be the first one to respond to guarantee that they're able to pick up that kill on to Rated R.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fantastic wave control by Nooner. I mean, he's going to be taking a bit of a trade here, but I mean, he's trading into the Shen, who does have his abilities available, but you see the trade kind of go back into the Nooner's favor when it gets into that extended trade. I mean, Rokenbeck definitely want to take those short trades while he has that dodge field available to him. But yeah, see, I mean, he's looking to take those trades, but the Nooner does have a little bit more, as a couple more abilities to his in his kit. It's going to be able to trade more effectively and sustain through those extended trades, but it does look like a big wave going to be pushing into him, and Rokenbeck, those trades, man, I swear.
Yeah, just still finding really good trades here on this Shen, getting some nice damage onto the Nooner, but he is likely going to be able to regenerate up with that Carnivore passive if he can. Rated R20, once again, facing off against Scoop for this Scuttle Crab, although this time it is going to be the Viticulture bot lane who's able to move first, though the Scuttle Crab going to be picked up by Scoop here, and now he's just fallen forward onto Sea of Thieves, going in for the engage, but here comes the heroic entrance from the Galio, although Scoop might be a little bit caught out here. The Encore does not come on through quite yet, but it is going to now as Scoop is able to pick up that kill. Now they're moving ever farther onto Troy. Nooner has teleported on in, but he might be a little bit too little too late as Rokenbeck is already here and already dominating the fight. Mystic Shadow getting a lot of rockets out of the backside, going to be looking to maybe pick up Nooner with the zap, but doesn't quite manage to do so. That is going to be one kill picked up for the side of Viticulture.
Yeah, and I mean, a really good attempt, a really good contest for that Scuttle Crab by Scoop, but unfortunately his bot lane just not able to respond, and Sea of Thieves able to rotate up enough to help his jungler, along with the Stand United, are able to turn that fight around. The rotation up or down by Mike Wee Wee. I mean, overall, really good rotations by the side of Viticulture. They're able to secure that that first dragon for their team and really kind of set themselves up to in favor. I mean, we weren't expecting them, at least me personally, I wasn't expecting them to take a lot of these dragons early, as it did seem like the side of Glizzy Gladiators had the early game aggression that was needed to secure these drakes. But we did talk about, setting up vision, setting up control of that river early to try to take those drakes, and it looks like Viticulture came out on top this time.
Yeah, they certainly did, and they're able to reward themselves there with that dragon, having picked up the opposing jungler. And now Scoop maybe not going to be snowballing quite as hard as he was on the Hecarim in game one, as he's now found himself losing out on a little bit of a trade here, though still does feel pretty confident up against that Lilia, going to be farming out onto his opponent's chickens, pretty much right on the same side as her. They might run into each other at this red buff if they aren't both aware here. Nice pink ward going to be thrown down to know when Rated R is going to be approaching.
Yeah, absolutely, and Rated R does not have a clue right now what's happening up in his jungle. I mean, he's finishing up those Krugs shortly, but it does not look like he's going to be able to finish him in time, as Scoop is going to be able to take that red buff right from under him, but he is going to spot him out here. He could potentially wait. We are seeing...
He's clearing out the pink ward, but he still doesn't know that Scoop is waiting right here, who's going to emerge from the bush right here. He's level 6, but that doesn't mean too much when you're the Udyr, although still going to be dealing out tons of damage. The Bear stance going to come on through, followed by the Phoenix stance. Mike Wee Wee going to be here to back up his jungler and going to enable him to get out without a death, but that is a lot of his jungle that he's lost out on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's losing 2 camps by the time Rated R20 was able to finish those Krugs. He lost both his chickens and his red buff, and I mean, that's going to delay that level 6, which he now hit by finishing up those wolves, but I mean, you got to believe that if he was able to pick up one of those camps, that fight against that Udyr would have gone much differently with the access to that Lullaby ultimate. But, I mean, that is going to put a little bit of a damper, as it does look like his bot lane is going to rotate up to help him secure that Scuttle Crab, but it might break out into a fight.
Yeah, could potentially here, as they are going to be going on in here. Sea of Thieves going to be looking for that engage, and that's going to be a 2-man sleep landed in by Rated R20. Going to follow this one up, going to get the double proc, going to get a lot of damage up across, and forcing away the opponent's bot lane. Scoop can't handle this all on his own, as Mystic Shadow is just dishing out so much damage here with the rockets. Going to be looking for this and followed up with the Magnet Storm from Sea of Thieves. That's going to be the first kill, that's going to be the second kill, and now Dr. Phil and Jill has come on down to try to make the difference, but 3 of his teammates have already gone down. Make that 2 actually, as Smeals is still alive, but he's going to be the third, as Mike Wee Wee is able to pick up that kill.
Oh my goodness, and that's going to be a 3-for-1 for the side of Viticulture. I mean, they're going to be able to secure that Scuttle Crab that they were able to win that Scuttle Crab fight, and they were able to secure more kills, and now that first kill onto Mystic Shadow. Trade coming up in the top lane, though.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
no,
gonna commit.
Nuna's getting taken incredibly low here by this Shen. Really just does not have a lot of options up against him here. And is going to be maybe forced to take the recall, though Rokenbeck going to take it himself. He's still been able to find some really favorable trades up in these top lanes, even in matchups where we might not expect him to be dominating.
Yeah, and Rokenbeck definitely the definition of a lane bully, no matter what you put him, whether it's Tom Kench or Shen, it really does not matter. He will play those champions aggressively. But going back to that bot lane, I mean, Mystic Shadow was able to pick up that first kill and 2 assists from that fight, and that's going to propel him into that lead where he's able to pick up that Noon Quiver now, able to pick up those Berserker Greaves, and I mean, while he isn't necessarily too far ahead to Smeals, it's still going to put him in a position where he's going to be able to kind of continue that snowball that he has in that bot lane and potentially turn that bot lane fight in his favor now, even in the 2v2. I mean, they have the damage advantages. Oh, we might see Dr. Phil get caught out here.
Yeah, he's getting hauled out by this Rel a little bit, but a little trade, a bunch of damage on back. The Winds of War really coming in huge here, though. Rated R20 coming on through. He has the Predator to make him even faster, and he's going to be making a difference on a scoop here, although here comes the Heroic Entrance, going to be getting a big knock up there onto the Rel, but the Encore comes on through to prevent the farther engage, and they block out onto the Justice Punch. The flash on forward, Rokenbeck manages to pick up the kill. Nicely done there onto Dr. Phil and Chill. Really good buffering of the abilities to make sure the Galio had no options to escape.
Yeah, really good back and forth by both teams, but Viticulture is going to come out on top, and they're going to be able to take down what looked to be a potential turnaround by Glizzy Gladiators. Viticulture still comes out in favor, and I mean, it does look like they're going to position here to maybe look for this Rift Herald, or at least control the vision for this Rift Herald, as Scoop isn't necessarily in a position to really contest this. And yeah, and it does look like Rated R20 is going to look to start this Rift Herald up and try to extend these leads for his laners.
Yeah, and he's doing an excellent job of that. The Predator on Lilia, definitely not something that we see an awful lot of, but really coming in clutch there as he was able to just race on over. Already had a couple of stacks up on his W, or from his Q rather, as he was doing a camp earlier on. And then with the addition of that Predator movement speed, just races on in and makes the fight even where it needs to be, allowing them to finally pick up that kill onto Dr. Phil and Chill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely what you like to see. I mean, really great communication coming out by Viticulture. The rotations where you need them, the communication in terms of, you know, you could still stay in this fight. We don't necessarily have to disengage. You know, we have the tools available. Here comes an Rokenbeck with the ultimate. So really strong communication in these team fights, and not a lot of miscommunication coming on from Viticulture. You see the quickness coming in. Yeah,
Toy going on in for this engage, going to be locking on up Mystic Shadow, and they really want to be able to pick him on up here, but Steve Thieves doing everything he can to pick it up with the Magnet Storm. There was a nice Void Seeker landed onto Mystic Shadow here, although Mike Weeby is teleported on down, although does not have access to the Encore yet, so not going to be able to turn the fight. Just going to be a little bit of snares coming on across, a little bit more damage, but not enough to actually save his support. Still, though, Mystic Shadow able to escape despite all of the tools used onto him, so Viticulture not going to be living in their worst life. Well, there's a huge engage coming on through from Rated R, although he's going to get the 3-man sleep, but he's not able to survive as he ends up ending up trading 1-for-1. Smeals was taken down on the other side here. Mike Weeby and Mystic Shadow feel incredibly powerful here, but now here comes a big TP in from the Nooner. They're going to throw on over those choppers to snare him on up. Well played there, but it's Mystic Shadow getting caught out nonetheless. Now Mike Weeby just needs to try to escape if he can. Does not quite have access to the Encore yet. Going to be up here in just a second, but is not going to come up in time. A big shutdown picked up for Scoop as the ticker in the bottom going to move right back over to Glizzy Gladiators' side as this game and entire series remains back and forth.
And again, that over-aggression that we saw in Game 1 comes back to continue to haunt Viticulture in this Game 2. I mean, after that loss in the bot lane prior to that Dragon start, I mean, it's just, you know, why try to salvage a fight? I mean, just give up the Dragon. I mean, it's only the second Drake. Yes, it's an Infernal Drake. Yes, it's definitely one of the stronger solo Dragons to pick up, but it's not worth swinging over that gold lead. I mean, you know, granted, they're still 200 gold ahead, but it still puts them in a situation where they kind of gave these kills over to the Udyr, to the Galio. They're able to pick up some items. They're going to be a little bit harder to kill. And if anything, you handed over a really big shutdown from Mike Weeby, who was 3-0-1 at the time. And it's really giving Glizzy Gladiators a chance to kind of come back into this game and potentially start contesting these Drakes and turrets and really be able to fight these team fights effectively now.
And we can see Mike Weeby once again going for the Leandries here on the Seraphine, just looking to become more of a damage threat, not really speccing too hard into that Moonstone Renewer from the mid lane. So Mystic Shadow still going to be a little bit on his own when it comes to getting supported out by his teammates, although it's a little bit less of a 3 support comp than last game. Rokenbeck You know, he was able to pull off a lot on the Tahm Kench in the last game and likely has a little bit even more autonomy now on this Shen. So going to be looking to see what he can make happen now on this pick. Sea of Thieves also now a very powerful engage tool and looking to do that on Toy here, although he actually ends up going on to Smeals here. Not quite going to be getting the Attract Repel stun, but doesn't even need it as he does manage to get the ultimate across, but the teleport in coming through from Phil and Chill going to enable them to trade that back onto Sea of Thieves and nothing else available for Mystic Shadow. Looking to chase on a little bit farther here off of Rated R20, although he can't really make anything happen here, has no access to the flash.
Really like what Glizzy Gladiators are doing here. Actually, there's a trade coming up top. I don't think it's going to come out to much, but
they're still kind of going back and forth here. Neuter getting taken down pretty low. Broken Beck taken down as well. But he has to be careful about the feast coming through from Neuter. But actually, there's so much damage here from Broken Beck, although taken down incredibly low. He has to watch out here for the feast, and he does manage to do it. He takes down the big Cho'Gath in the top lane, and that is going to be a win for Broken Beck, just really making it top diff this series.
And man, I mean, definitely a really big diff here. I mean, Broken Beck, again, playing those supportive champions in the Shen now, a little bit more supportive than the Tahm Kench. Not as aggressive, you know, not a Titanic Hydra first item or second item, and definitely not the Frozen Gauntlet. But I mean, yeah, Broken Beck definitely making even a Shen look incredibly impressive. But back to what happened in the bot lane, I do like what Glizzy Gladiators are doing so far. They're not scared of expending any of these resources they have available to them, whether it's the heroic entrance. Actually, here comes the gank on Mickey Wee Wee.
Going for a big engage here onto Mike Wee Wee, and he just has no way out. Just getting melted through really quickly there. The Justice Punch into the Bear Punch. Lots of different flavors of punches coming on across here. As Sea of Thieves once again just looking for this hard engage, going to get the Attract Repel stun onto Troy, but he's just going to dash on out of there. Here comes the ultimate though from Broken Beck. They're going to manage to get some more CC across, and they are finally going to take down the Rakan. It's going to be a big 1-for-0 in the bottom lane, although using a lot of tools to get there. They really want to be able to take turret as well if they can.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it does look like they're going to be able to commit for this turret. I mean, we are going to see the Shen go ahead and reset, but it is going to be a 3v2 down here. The sleepy lullaby coming in though.
Yeah, they might be going for the dive here, although here comes the heroic entrance from the Galio. They do manage to take down the turret, but what else can they get? Jinx is excited here, but Sea of Thieves has already been taken down. Now Mystic Shadow going to follow as well, trying to kite down to the bottom side, but can't get away. Rated R has been taken down as well, and that is going to be a 3-for-0 in the favor of the Glizzy Gladiators in the bot lane.
And they're gonna lose the opposing turret. I mean, they were able to pick up first turret there, but I mean, they're still gonna end up going worse for wear there. They're gonna lose 3 kills, and they're still gonna lose the top lane turret. I mean, again, it's just that over aggression. I mean, I really like the idea that they were able to take up that kill with the Stand United. They were able to pick up a kill and potentially unlock this bot lane, but then, I mean, I don't know. I think they should have just committed to taking that turret and then just backed off. There's really no need to try to dive, you know, someone like the Rakan or even the Kaisa in that bot lane anymore, especially with Dr. Phil and Chill back on the map and his ultimate available to him. Again, it's just that over aggression. I like what both teams are doing. I like the resources they're committing to try to get the respective bot lanes ahead or to stop the other bot lane from getting ahead, but we're just seeing a little bit too much of that greediness come out from Viticulture, and Glizzy Gladiators are able to respond in kind.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves and Rated R just going too hard for a couple of these engages here, not respecting the Galio ultimate, not respecting the re-engage tools available for the side of the Glizzy Gladiators, and that's allowing them to get punished for some of these over-engages. They really do need to just dial it back a little bit here, as they have the gold on some of their important members. They should, in theory, be able to scale to be pretty powerful as it comes into the late game. They just need to not over-aggress with this rel. Yes, it's a very powerful engage tool, but you don't need to use it every time it's available.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in a tanky team like Glizzy Gladiators. I mean, aside from the Kaisa, really, who are you going to be able to take down right away? I mean, sure, Galio's going, for a more AP-oriented build, but he is, speccing towards that Zanya's. It's going to be really hard to really engage on these champions. It doesn't look like we're going to break out into a fight for this third dragon.
Yeah, they are just going back and forth here a little bit. That's going to be Sea of Thieves, though. Knocked Airborne, fully engaged on and taken down almost immediately, but that's a huge 4-man encore landed on the same stroke, and now Rated R going to be trying to turn this around on the backside and is able to do so, actually making a lot of damage come on across. Now Mystic Shadow trying to kite this one out. He's still at full HP. He gets excited. He picks up another kill. He's already picked up 3. This could be a potential pentakill, but he does eventually get melted down. Now they're trying to turn it back onto Scoop, and it looks like they will be able to do so. Mike Wee Wee actually coming through with the damage. The Leandry's build making the difference as Broken Beck and Mike Wee Wee able to come out as the last men standing from that last fight. It goes in the favor of Viticulture Esports. They are going to be able to pick up a second dragon.
Yeah, an ace for the side of Viticulture. I mean, they're able to turn that fighter on beautifully. I mean, they weren't able to get onto Mystic Shadow fast enough. I mean, he was free hitting, and like you mentioned, we had the fantastic encore by Seraphine, I believe, hitting 4 out of the 5 members. I'll follow up with the Littling Lullaby by by Radar 20. I mean, they were able to just CC chain perfectly. I mean, it gave Mystic Shadow so much time to free hit. And even after all that CC was done and through, I mean, Mystic Shadow was still able to live for so much longer and provide so much of that damage that was necessary, and was able to pretty much secure that team fight for his team. I mean, don't get me wrong, Broken Back was able to kind of come in and pick up that double kill as well, but I mean, again, they're creating all this space for Mystic Shadow to really DPS, and now with these next couple items coming in, the crit chance getting higher, the DPS getting stronger, I mean, it's just a matter of time before these team fights are going to be, you need to lock down Mystic Shadow, as Broken Back looks to take on Smeals here in that 1v1.
Yeah, and he certainly feels like he can here. He's pretty powerful on this 2-item Shen, going to be
oh my god,
going to be coming on across, going for the taunt. Now here comes the heroic entrance. Can Galio turn it around? Has Broken Back pulled off a bit more than he can chew? Certainly looks to be so, as he's likely going to be taken down here. Gets another taunt.
Oh my god!
It actually does so. Broken Back is insane on this Shen, and is going to be able to turn it around against the opposing AD carry. He's finally going to get cut off by Toy and take it on down. Like, he's going to escape. He gets stunned by the attracted repel. Toy cannot get onto this Shen, and Broken Back in a 1 versus 4 is going to be able to get the kill and escape.
Oh my god, Broken Back, man, more like not broken back. Like, this man just putting the team on his back right now. Like, oh my god, like, he's just, again, it's like I'm watching the Tom Kench all over again. It's just, this man has no chill. He's just gonna go in and in and in, and not even, you know, potentially the 2 strongest members in the Kai'Sa and the Galio are gonna really put an end to him. Again, he's creating all this time and space, and he allowed, you know, all this time he was able to pick up a kill. He's able to survive, and he lets his team take the mid lane turret. Like, what more do you want from this man? He's a 1-man army. He's doing everything.
Yeah, and there's no way he's planning that either, by the way.
Right,
like,
no, absolutely not.
Like, there's no way he's walking in out of Smeals and it's like, yeah, you know, the Galio ultimate's gonna come in, and then I'm gonna double taunt him, I'm gonna pick him up with 100 HP left, and I'm gonna escape. He's just a force of nature. He just can't do, he can do no wrong. He just goes on in, takes any fight that he can get, and he's going to be able to outplay it and come out clean on the other side.
Oh my god, and like you said, I don't feel like it's planned either. I feel like he just knows. He's just like, you know what, nothing's gonna stop me. Throw everything at me. You really want to do that? Even if I die, my team's got my back, and they're gonna be able to do so much more. And I mean, that's what we saw with the Tom Kench, and now we're seeing it again with the Shen, except now he has the ability to join these fights in multiple ways with the Stand United and the teleport. So he is 4-1-6 right now. I mean, the Nooner is not gonna be able to stop him. Smeals can't stop him. 3 out of the 5 members can't stop him. What really are you gonna be able to do to stop Broken Back right now from creating this pressure that he's going to be doing even now?
Yeah, he's still coming on across here. Now there is a bit of an engage going on in the mid lane, but this time it is the Rel going for the disengage, and that means they can actually kite it on back. The sleep going to come across for Dr. Viticulture, going to get stasis away, but now it's going to be followed up on by the Flame Choppers. Now a big Magnet Storm coming across. Here comes the Encore from the other side to pick up Dr. Viticulture, and now Scoop finds himself a little bit outnumbered here. He's just getting out damaged and taken down. Now Smeals and Troy is trying to run across, but they aren't going to be able to get away either. Just tons of these bows coming on across from the side of the Lilia, tons of rockets coming in from Mystic Shadow, and that's a 4-for-1 fight in favor of Viticulture Esports.
And that was without Broken Back being there. It does look like he did expend that Stand United and was interrupted by the Nooner. But I mean, that shield played dividends. I believe he ulted Mystic Shadow there to stop the Oot to stop Scoop from being able to 1v1 him. But I mean, it's just all that. I mean, I don't know, if you're Glizzy Gladiators, I mean, what do you really do? You know you can't stop Broken Back, even if you send 3 members, so you hard engage onto that mid lane to try to maybe turn that fight into your favor and try to pick off a kill before he can join the fight, since but you're still not able to get onto Mystic Shadow. He's able to kite around, he gets those shields, he has all that CC coming out from Radar 20 and Mickey Wee Wee and even CS Thieves. I mean, he has so much support and so much time to just free hit, and even then, that wasn't the biggest threat. The Mickey Wee Wee and the Seraphine was able to pick up a triple. So even now, I mean, while I still personally call it the Mystic Shadow show, it's now featuring Mickey Wee Wee and Broken Back. I mean, the whole team is kind of making their debut here, and oh man, they're just, everything's coming up for them. Viticulture, I mean, everything's coming up heads for them.
Yeah, and to take a step back here and talk about the league and the division as a whole, not to draw too large a conclusions off of one series, but also keeping in mind that there's only been 2 series before this. Viticulture has played against the top 2 teams by standings so far. Those have been their only 2 opponents. They could be a bit of a dark horse candidate here as we start to pass up the mid-season mark, and as they start to play against maybe some of the lower tier teams, maybe Viticulture is a little bit stronger than they might have been given credit for, as they've really been able to out-team fight Glizzy Gladiators here 2 games in a row so far, and looking to potentially take this series.
Yeah, it really does seem like Viticulture understands the way their comp works. They really are able to create all the space that they need. and they're able to really do what they need. I mean, we talked about it in Champs, like how it's like, you know, Mystic Shadow has to be protected here. He needs to be, you know, given all the support. But I mean, they're playing around this immaculately. See,
He's engaged. Here comes the Magnet Storm. They've caught out Scoop here and are trying to focus him on down, but now they have to be careful about Toy. Rampaging across the backline. Rated R20 is taken down incredibly low, but he does manage to go into the stasis. They're trying to turn around this fight. Nooner has come around to the backside. He's going to be getting a knock up here, but Mystic Shadow still cutting it on back, getting excited, able to take down 2, and now he's going to be able to carry the rest of the fight. He's been able to survive. He gets feasted down at the end here by Nooner as they are trying to turn it around here. Sea of Thieves doesn't actually clear over the wall, so it is going to be a 3 for 2 at the end of the day, but this does give control of the dragon to Viticulture.
You have to see now how many resources Glizzy Gladiators have to expend in order to get onto Mystic Shadow, but it's almost a little too late now. I mean, Broken Back doing a lot of damage. Mike Wiki, oh my god, the 1v1 here?
I don't know. Recall from Nooner here. Where can he go? He doesn't really have good options to escape here. Sea of Thieves with virtually no damage, but can at least survive for as long as he needs to, and he's gonna be able to pick it up. That's a support solo kill on the top laner.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, good solo kill there by Sea of Thieves, but yeah, I mean, we see what Glizzy Gladiators are trying to do. I mean, they're trying to expend all their resources to take down Mystic Shadows, but like I mentioned, it's a little too late. I mean, Mike Wee, I mean, is providing so much damage with this build, you know, going the non-traditional Landry's and the Cosmic Drive. I mean, he's putting out so much damage, and I mean, we've already, you know, expended how much we could talk about Broken Back here. I mean, but all the damage that they're able to do, Mystic Shadow isn't the only threat now, and you see what happens when they expend all those resources. I mean, they still end up losing the fight. They lose it 2 for 3, I'm sorry, and they lose the Baron and the Dragon. I mean, it's just not going too favorable for Glizzy Gladiators. They're gonna have to reassess really what they can do here and how they can really look to turn this game around. The gold lead about 6,000 gold. I mean, not impossible to come back from, but I mean, Viticulture is definitely looking to run away with the game.
Yeah, and when these two teams are just running at each other like this, if they can't get onto Mystic Shadow, it's going to come up Viticulture's side every single time. They just have so many tools to be able to take these extended fights, to be able to keep people CC'd, and to be able to keep Mystic Shadow safe. And as long as he's firing those rockets, his team is winning these fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he just has all the protection in the world. I mean, he has everything he needs. I mean, look at this damage. Even right now, they're aggressing into Glizzy Gladiator's jungle. I mean, they're saying your jungle is mine. I mean, there's nothing you can do, but it does look like this could potentially turn into a fight here. I don't think they're going to give this red buff for free, and it does look like they're going to be able to take this away. Not going to break out into too much more, but who knows? I mean, they're still living in this jungle. But I mean, Viticulture definitely doing what they need to be doing right now. I mean, they're aggressing. They're trying to take as many resources away so that they don't have enough time to kind of get back into this game. And while they can be using maybe this Baron to aggress maybe a little bit more, maybe try to take a little bit more of these turrets, it does look like the Baron buff is going to run out. And I mean, they're still going to take what they got. You know, they got the dragon, they got a couple kills. Sea of Thieves is still standing here waiting to see what he finds. But it looks like the siege isn't over, even with the dragon, or even with the Baron buff being gone.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't really have to let up on this. As long as they're covering their sides and making sure Mystic Shadow isn't going to get engaged on, they can do whatever they please with the rest of this game. And with the access to the Stand United, they can afford to play a little bit more fast and loose, knowing that they have that big ultimate to bail them out.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it does look like they're still kind of doing what they're doing. You know, they're still applying that pressure. They have Mike Wee on the bot lane. You know, he does have the TP available to join the fight. Not necessarily your most traditional split pusher in the Seraphine, but Toy taking a lot of damage here. He's literally going to be pushed out of this fight. I mean, he's below a fourth of his health here. Oh my.
Super Mega Death Rocket comes on across. Now Toy is incredibly low. Scoop getting chunked out as well there, and is constantly at risk of being put to sleep every time he gets hit by one of those Lilia E's. So they just got to back on away here, and that means they're going to have to forfeit a lot of this pressure around mid lane, and that the push can continue, Baron buff or not.
Yeah, and I really like this itemization coming out of Mystic Shadow. He's able to pick up that Lord Dominic's Regards as his third item, and he's able to burn through, even now with his rockets, he's going to be able to burn through a lot of those resistances that are being built by the Cho'Gath and the Udyr. And I mean, even the Rakan. I mean, the Rakan isn't necessarily going to be the tankiest member. He's building some resistances, but I mean, it just means that he's going to get hit so much harder now. I mean, we are seeing some of these final items coming in. I mean, we're seeing, you know, the carries getting onto 3 items, while the side of Glizzy Gladiators carries aren't necessarily there just yet, choosing to optimize some of their builds with the, you know, the Executioner's Blade coming out by Smeals, the Quicksilver Sash coming out of Toy, looking to maybe engage and maybe disengage and look back for another potential engage or peel potential. But I don't know. I mean, right now, if I'm Viticulture, I'm looking for another pick. I'm looking for this next fight with this Baron. I'm looking to end it now. I don't want to give Glizzy Gladiators the chance to scale back up or to get more items to be able to turn the fights into their favor. But it does look like the Nooner might get caught out here.
Yeah, really also do love this setup, though, coming in through from Viticulture. If he sees, they see 3 members of the bot right now, they're on Baron. They're getting right onto that Baron, and Viticulture is going to be able to pick up Baron off this. Now the question just is whether or not Beck is actually going to end up dying here. They're really just trading him for the Baron at this point. They've got Scoop down here as well. There's really no chance they have of contesting that, so Beck is all they're going to be able to take. That's a big shutdown. They're going to successfully donate it to Smeals here, and now they have to peel off. They're going to try to go on the Cho'Gath here because they're scared about getting flash feasted. He doesn't quite have access to the flash yet, though. Not sure if they're aware of that. They take it while he's asleep. Well played there on them. And the extension through the team from the Encore going to enable them to pick up Nooner. So it's just a trade of top laners across the map, except Viticulture also gets the Baron.
Yeah, and what I mean, it does mean that they are potentially going to be coming into this dragon as a potentially the aggressors. They're going to look to retake this dragon pit, but it might be a little too late. I mean, there's only 8 seconds left, and I don't think Viticulture makes it in time. I mean, with the damage that they have with the Kai'Sa and the Udyr, they should be able to burn through this very quickly. But I mean, still, a very favorable trade for Viticulture. They pick up a kill. They're able to take the dragon. Yes, this delays their soul, but realistically right now with this Baron, as soon as Beck spawns, they should just be looking to siege. Again, you want to do this before Glizzy Gladiators can fully optimize their builds and really be able to fight back.
Yeah, like that Viticulture isn't trying to overforce here. They're not playing overly aggressive. They can just take their Baron. They can accept that they traded Dragon for Baron and that they traded top laners. And now just start looking to push onto some of these lanes using that Baron pressure and eventually be able to hopefully convert that pressure into their Dragon Soul later on.
Yeah, it does look like they're going to set up for this 1-0-4. They're going to look to put Beck up there to create as much pressure as possible, and they're going to be using these Baron-empowered minions to try to take this bot lane inhibitor turret. And I mean, Beck has a lot of ways to get into this fight, both with the TP and the standing edge. Should one of them get interrupted, he can potentially reposition for the other one, but it does look like Glizzy Gladiators are not going to contest this outer tier turret, and they're maybe going to look to stop them at the inhibitor turret, though this positioning could be a potential engage here coming out from Glizzy.
Yeah, they have a great collapse here if they find it. Now Toy is stuck a little bit on the wrong side here, although does manage to get onto the side of Mystic Shadow. Although the Encore comes on across Mystic Shadow's in the middle of everybody, though, and he does end up taken down. Now they're getting a multi-man sleep. They're going to be ending CC across everybody. They really need to play around their AP carries here. The Lilia and the Seraphine need to be able to carry out this fight in order for them to do anything, but they're getting further engaged on. They're getting taken down, and they have been taken down. Now Smeals is free to carry this fight. Beck cannot 1v4 as much as we've seen him accomplish already this series, and that means this is going to be a big fight win for Glizzy Gladiators. It's going to be the Barons off of all the members of Viticulture. Oh, he turns it back, though. He manages to play Smeals yet again. He can't win the fight, though. He's got to go down eventually. He does, and that means that the fight is going to be over for the time being. But that is a big win for the side of the Glizzy Gladiators. They take the Baron off of all of the opposing team, and they get the fight win for all the gold in their pockets.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what I was worried for the side of Viticulture. I mean, they're getting to the point where even now they're trying to siege, but it looks like Glizzy Gladiators have gotten to those item power spikes. I mean, we see that Kai'Sa, Smeals was free hitting a lot in that fight, and he is at 3 items. He's now building towards that 4th, and he's pretty much all but caught up to Mystic Shadow in terms of itemization. Maybe not so much gold, but what's really, a little over 1,000 gold at this point of the match, where both teams are, both respective teams are sitting at 61k and 56k. But I mean, that fight was just based off of just coordination. I mean, Viticulture didn't have the ability to protect Mystic Shadow as best as they could. They were kind of split and collapsed onto that fight, and they really need to go back to their roots and really look to just take a more direct fight. They don't want to be fighting in those junglers. You brought up that point very early into the game that they do not want to be fighting in those choke points. The team that can set up those choke points is going to be able to potentially take the fight because they are able to find all those different points of engage. They're able to layer and set up all those different abilities, especially with something like the Galio, the Rakan, the Udyr, the Cho'Gath, all the CC. It's going to be layered in those choke points just perfectly and allow for them to pretty much CC any target that they want to. So if you're Viticulture, you cannot be taking those fights. You need to siege through the lanes and really not get caught up in those team fights. Where if you're Glizzy Gladiators, I mean, you're welcoming any kind of fight in the jungle. And if anything, this last ace brought you to the point where maybe even those direct engages through lanes might not be enough at this point.
Yeah, and Sea of Thieves can look for these kind of picks while they're pushing in side lanes, but Mystic Shadow cannot be up there looking for the picks with him because what ends up happening is Viticulture flanked themselves. They go up in and they split Scoop and Toy as they find them in that bush, but that just means that Toy has the side angle to get the quickness charm onto Mystic Shadow, and they can turn that into chain CC that eventually ends up taking him down. That's really the only way that Viticulture ends up losing that fight, and they walk into it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this next fight, I mean, Dragon's coming up in a minute. The Nooner will not have his TP available, so it should be joining up with the team, which is what we're seeing. And I mean, Roken Beck is going to be able to just split push here, as it looks like the fight's breaking out, though.
Yeah, they finally engage on a Mike Wee, but they can't really follow any farther. This is the kind of fight lines that Viticulture really wants here. They're just going to be hitting it front to back. Now the Encore going to come on across, and these rockets are just raining across the entire map. That's a huge magnet storm landed onto 4 or 5 members there, and Mystic Shadow's just popping off across the whole fight. He's throwing missiles at every single player. That's a quadra kill picked up for a rated R20. It's going to get stolen away by Mike Wee at the end of the day, but a 5-for-0 ace for Viticulture, going to enable them to take at least an inhibitor and possibly even the game.
Yeah, and I mean, you just said it right before it happened. This is the kind of fight that Viticulture wanted. It's a fight where you can protect Mystic Shadows at all costs, and we saw everything come out. Everything, including the kitchen sink, was thrown at Glizzy Gladiators to stop them from engaging on Mystic Shadow. And like you said, that's game. I mean, that's the kind of fight you didn't want if you're Glizzy Gladiators. And I mean, Viticulture definitely saw their fight, they saw their angle, and they took it, and they're able to take the series 2-0.
A huge win for Viticulture here, coming into the night just by scoreline alone. You have to assume the underdogs, having not won a game in the league yet, now coming and taking this series 2-0. They're going to be sitting at 1-2 here. And as I said in the middle of that game, they've played against the top 2 teams in the standings prior to now, and it looks like it might just be all up from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything you could take away from this game is the fact that these 2 teams, I mean, neither of them look as traditionally as bad as you would think coming from the 2, bottom of the standing teams. I mean, both teams definitely gave it their all. They both had their ups and downs. They both had their good moments. But like you mentioned, I mean, Viticulture played against the toughest 2 teams in their division in the first 2 weeks, and it almost looks like it could only be uphill from here. And Viticulture might be the dark horse in this division, and might look to really even give those top teams a running if they were to meet in the play-in stages.
Yeah, for sure. And also important to remember here that nobody gets eliminated prior to playoffs here. At least everybody at least guaranteed to get some participation into play-ins. So this is still, we are early into the season, Symphonic. There's still a lot of opportunities for these teams to improve, and it's you cannot get yourself mathematically eliminated no matter what happens early on here. So definitely going to be looking to the future for both of these teams to see if they can improve on what they showed here today.
Yeah, and I mean, both these teams definitely brought a lot to the table. I mean, they had a lot of really good control of the map at different points of the time. Neither team really just kind of, keeled over and died. They all really, they tried to bring these games back as best as they could. I mean, neither team was perfect. Neither team, outright decisively won any of these games. It was really just a back and forth and potentially a coin flip for either of these 2 teams to win either of the 2 games. So if I'm either of these 2 teams, I mean, if I'm Glizzy Gladiators, I wouldn't be too discouraged. I mean, yes, it's a bit of a slump, but I mean, you have plenty of time to kind of regroup, to learn from these games, and really just improve overall in these next coming weeks right before the play-in stages. And if I'm Viticulture, I'm pretty excited to pick up my first win, and I'm definitely looking to remember what we did here and continue on forward and continue to improve and bring these types of games into the rest of this regular season.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on Roken Beck in particular as we go through the rest of the league. He's had a bananas performance tonight up against the Nooner, and very impressive by him and his team tonight. Great job by everybody. Thank you all for coming on out, for watching. Thank you all the players for playing. But that is going to do it for the LHG stream tonight. Thank you all for watching, and have a great night.
Absolutely. Great night, guys.
fact, the love is gone, no more word to say. There's nothing more to do for you to take.